without a shadow of a doubt that you're created on purpose for a purpose. Mindset and money revolution. You have to have a mindset revolution to experience a money revolution. That's when you experience a true wealth revolution.
My name is Chad Free. Welcome to the Wealth Revolution Podcast.
Welcome to the Wealth Revolution Podcast. My name is Chad Free, and I am glad and happy and all that good stuff to be back with you today on another episode of How to Build True Wealth. True wealth is an abundance of anything that you value. And, you know, a lot of times I talk about, I really believe that everybody's created on purpose for a purpose. You've heard me talk about that. My son said that last week. But so many people never experience or discover their purpose because of two things, either their mindset or their money. And so that's what this whole mission and movement is all about, is to literally open your mind, because your mind's like a parachute. It works best when it's open. And money is not a source that dictates or shouldn't dictate what you do, when you do it, and who you do it with. It is a resource. It should be viewed as provision for your vision. So I'm going to do like a 4, maybe a 5-week series. Caden, I don't know, man. I might do a 4-week and then throw in a bonus on the 5th week. I don't know. But we're going to really unpack some money. We're going to talk about some secrets that the wealthy use. But you know what? It's really not a secret. It's just that nobody's raising their hand to find out what all options are available to them. So it looks like a secret. The financial industry tries to keep it a secret because it's not in their favor for you to know all about it. So I want to talk about something from the get-go. I want to talk about, like, how do you even start thinking about building wealth? Like, what does that even look like? So when you start building something, that means that you have to take action and you start doing something. So I've actually created a sort of a framework to help people get focused right where they are, and don't look at the whole staircase, but look at one step at a time. And it's called the ECAD system, and I'll explain that a little bit later. But in this video, I'm going to talk about how you can eliminate your debt and turn it into wealth. So I have a lot of people that are interested in that subject, and I kind of want to talk about that, you know, high level, and just where do we start? Maybe you are somebody that has always gone with the flow. You feel like you have been on a hamster wheel. You feel like, well, I make good money, but I just don't see the fruits of my labor. I don't see me getting ahead. Or maybe you feel like you are getting older and you should be further along than you are. I want to talk to you today. That's kind of where I want to start with. So before we get started, I want to, first of all, again, like we said, we want to open your mind. I want you to look at money and have a different approach about it. First of all, if you've ever heard money referred to as currency, and you take a look at whatever definition, I don't have it pulled up, but currency, I'm pretty sure, means movement. So I want to start right there. When you're getting ready to start contributing towards something, what are your intentions with that? I believe that we've been told to, again, go to school, work hard, get a job, save enough money, and then one day you'll be able to enjoy that. And I just believe there's a better way. So money, if money's currency, that means movement. It needs to be moved. If you look at banks actually make their money by the velocity of the money, moving the money. You know, you have people coming in with deposits and they turn right around and they lend that money out to somebody else. So they're constantly moving that money. They are not stockpiling money in some sort of back room and accumulating it. Okay, so it's not meant for accumulation, it's meant for multiplication. It's meant to be multiplied. Now, that really should be the first point that you need to think about, because you probably never have thought about it. Because you've been told to put it up into a 401k or an IRA or a savings account and just, hey, it's going to pile up, it's going to pile up, it's going to pile up. And one day I'll have enough piled up that I can pull off of it and it'll support me for the rest of my life. That's accumulation. And when you focus on that accumulation, you're steady focused on chasing rates of returns and beating the market and timing the market, and you're on the hamster wheel, and that's all you're thinking about is building that accumulation pile of hopium. Money should be a tool that is used, not a tool that is viewed, right? I mean, what are we going to do? Just look at it? You need to have those bad boys out there working for you. Because I promise you, if I had to guess, you feel like you're working your tail off for it. So is your money working as hard for you as you are working for it? All right. So all these things I just want you to get your mind wrapped around this, because I'm going to give you steps and I'm going to give you advice and I'm going to give you next steps to take control of your money and have it start working for you. So if money is currency and its movement, let me give you an example. I heard Myron Golden. If you've heard any of my latest podcasts, I am a huge Myron Golden fan. And he talks about the Sea of Galilee has life in it. There's fish in that actual body of water. And if you go down below that, the Jordan River, there's also life there. But then there's another body of water just below that, and it's called the Dead Sea. Is there life in the Dead Sea? No. And why is that? Because the Sea of Galilee has an inlet and an outlet. Movement. The Jordan River has an inlet and an outlet. Movement. The Dead Sea has an inlet. It has no outlet. So that should be the first lesson that you think about. Is it's not all about just taking, and I just want to look at it because I've got it piled up here, and I'm going to watch it so close, and what's happening is you're missing opportunities all around you, and you're even overlooking areas that you're losing money or that it's not being optimized and amplified to work for your benefit. So let's talk about this. Where your attention goes, your intention will follow. So if you're constantly chasing rates of returns and you're on this hamster wheel, that's what I want you to, I want you just to step off the hamster wheel for however long this episode is. And I want you to think about other possibilities. Okay. So let's get into it. Turning your debt into wealth. Well, what is debt? Debt is a liability. Debt can be good. Debt can be bad. Debt is not only money that you owe banks or other financial institutions. Debt, really, you can look at taxes as being a debt because you're in debt to the IRS if you have pre-qualified, pre-taxed accounts, because one day they're going to call that in and they're going to want taxes being paid on that account. All right. So that's a future liability, which would be a debt. Okay. So let's think about this. In the ECAD system, it starts with earning. So that's something I'm not going to talk about. That kind of needs to be your job, right? If you're earning enough, then you can contribute. You're going to start contributing and start building towards your wealth. So we're going to talk about the C right now. What are you contributing to? How much are you contributing? And what do you consider contributions? All right. So remember, the first step in the whole staircase is the one of contributions. Okay. So let's think about that. So let me ask you a question. If you are currently contributing to a savings account on an existing or a consistent basis, you need to write that down. If you are contributing to an IRA or a 401k, you need to write that down. That's a contribution. All right. Let me tell you another way to find contributions. Are you paying any extra towards any of your debt currently? So, are you paying extra towards your mortgage? Are you paying extra towards a car payment? Because here's the deal. When talking about turning your debt into wealth, all right, it's important to me that you embrace your lifestyle. You continue living your life. I don't want you selling your car, feeling like you have to sell your car to ride a bicycle to work. That's not the point. We want to show you how to redirect dollars that will benefit you. Okay? Just a better way to move your money. So let's just say that, let's talk about debt for a minute. Okay? Let's say that you have a $20,000 loan and you're charged 7%. And let's say your payment's $592. Okay. Your monthly interest on that is $116. So your interest rate is 7%. Okay. And you're paying $116 of that $592 is interest. That is almost 20% of your money is going toward interest. It's not going toward the debt. All right. So if you're losing 20% of your money, where are you making 20% on your money? Okay. So you have to realize sometimes that you have a problem before you decide to do anything about it. All right. So I want to give you this visual. Let's just say that you have a bucket. Okay. And you are putting all your savings or your money going into that bucket, and you're totally affixed on the fact that you have a great APR. All right. And so this is where I'm going with this. If you have a 7% APR, that APR really, that's just terms that you agree to. The real monthly interest that you're being charged is called effective interest cost. Okay, so that is 20%. So if you're losing 20%, what investments are making you 20%? Okay, so if you have interest coming out, let's call that a hole at the bottom of your bucket. Let's say you have taxes going out, right? That's another hole in the bottom of your bucket. And you've got all these little holes that are coming out of your bucket, 20%, 30%. Let's see here. I've worked with one family. They've got $514,000 of debt. Their total average APR is 5%. Their total monthly payment is $5,800. And the interest part of that is $2,172. Okay. So 5% is the total average of the APRs, and they're losing $2,000 a month to interest. They're losing the opportunity for that money to ever come back and be in their possession to where it can compound in their behavior or for their benefit. All right. So unpack that. That is 36.9% of their $5,800 payment is going towards somebody else's profit margin. 36%. Okay. So if that's the case, Again, where are you making? What investments are you making? Are you beating the market that bad or that good to make 36%? So we have to shift our attention towards that. Okay. Warren Buffett says the number one rule to investing is to not lose money. The number two rule is don't forget the number one rule. So it's pretty important if he made rules about it. And the second rule is don't forget the number one rule. And that's not just market losses. That's lost dollars that is coming out in their bucket. All right. So that's the first thing that I want to share with you, just to shift your mind. So if we find that money, if we're putting all this money in and we're chasing the 8, 9, 10% rate of return, but yet we're losing, in this case, 36% of our money, there's got to be a better way, right? Maybe this is the reason that we're making all this money, but it doesn't seem like we're getting ahead. And maybe that we're so scared to take a look at that because the first thing that we think about is budget. Budget. And budget is a good thing, but what do we think about budgets? We think about budgets with envelopes and, my goodness, I'm going to have to cut back this spending, cut back that spending. Well, maybe you have to do a little bit of that, but maybe we just got to open our mind and look at all the other options that may or may not be being told to us. Remember, we're not really taught financial literacy for a reason, because the traditional financial industry is not invested with you in your money. They're invested in maintaining control of your money. And they do that by telling you that you've got this great APR. And they do that by saying that, hey, we're beating the market. You see how this starts working out? Maybe I hope some of you are starting to connect the dots just a bit. All right. So, Chad, how do I do that? I mean, I don't want to focus on, eliminating debt and then that prolonging, when I actually start building my wealth, because now I'm losing time. Well, that's where we come in and we show you how you can turn your debt into wealth. All right. So with that being said, we have to be willing to move our money. It goes back to movement, right? So let's think about the traditional snowball. You probably heard of that, the snowball method, where maybe we find some extra money that we can set aside, let's say $500, and we put it towards that lowest debt, and then we pay that off, right? And then we take that amount, the $500 plus the minimum payment of that, once it's paid off, then we roll it to the second debt, and on and on and on. Okay, so eventually you're going to get out of debt, and you're going to have freed up cash flow. But what if your HVAC or something happens, to the tune of $7,500 or $10,000 afterwards? Well, you probably have to go back into debt. So what if we set you up an account that it's compounding in your favor? You put that $500 every month into that account. Okay. And then once you have enough money in that account, then you borrow against it and you pay that first debt off. Okay. So instead of paying money to the financial institution, the interest and principal, you're saying, hey, I'm going to take that debt and I'm going to start paying myself for it, because you have money that you've saved. You're going to pay that off, and then you're going to be the bank. You're going to treat yourself just like the bank, and you're going to start paying yourself back. All right. Now, how does that work, Chad? How does that work? I'm still paying. Well, you're paying yourself, and you're not paying somebody else. So you're turning that debt into wealth. Now, let me unpack this. Just like a bank, and you can see it episode 2, I believe it is, How to Play the Banking Game. We basically deposit money into a bank and they turn around and they lend it out, like I said earlier. And they may, give us 2% and they may turn around and lend that same money out for 7%. Now, on the surface, you say, well, that's a 5% profit they're making. Nope. Let's say that you deposited $10,000 and they turned around and they lended that out for a truck or a car or what have you. They're paying you $200 for using your money. 2%, $10,000, that's $200. That's what they're paying you. Then they're turning around and they're loaning that money out at 7%. That's $700. So let's do the big boy math. $200 turns into $700. That's 250%. That's big time. That's some big money moves right there. And you can do that too. So the first step when you are contributing is, all right, are you contributing to an IRA, a 401k? What are you contributing to? Are you contributing extra in your debt payments? Collect all of that, right? And then see how much you got on a monthly basis that's going out towards building something, towards paying off debt. And that's what we can take and see if we can redirect your money and how far you can come out ahead. I'll tell you also that we shared this. I think their names was Scott and Aaron. They had $327,000 in debt, and they were able to pay off their debt in 6 years. All right. But the story gets better. In year 9, once they paid themselves back, they had $227,000 in their bank, let's just say. All right. So they're not putting any more money back. They're not putting the $500 we talked about earlier, putting it away. They're not having to contribute anymore. All right. They've got $227,000 in that cash account. Scott wanted an F-150, a Ford truck. Okay. Again, you can go back to episode 2 and listen to this, but I'm going to give you the breakdown of it. If it's $51,000, they were offering, the 72 months, 0% interest. And so if you do the math, 51,000 divided by 72, that's $708 payment. All right. So far, so good. They're not paying any interest. But at the end of 72 months, what is that truck worth? Maybe $20,000? Let's pretend that it is, even if it's not. Okay. $20,000. All right. Now, if they had 51,000 in the safe, if they had it under the mattress, okay? Now listen, this is where it gets exciting. If they had that money under the mattress in the safe and they said, okay, $51,000. I'm just going to pay for it and be done with it. Well, that's great too. But how much is that truck worth at the end of the 72 months? Yep, if you said $20,000, you're right. Now, they believed in moving money. Their mindset had shifted. They saw leverage. This is the good leverage. This is how you leverage assets to make money. Leverage appreciating assets to make more money, multiplying. They have $227,000. They borrowed against those assets, $51,000, and they said, you know what? I'm going to give myself the same deal as Ford Motor Credit was going to give me. I'm going to pay myself back $708 a month. Okay? So at the end of the 72 months, how much do you think that truck is worth? You get a prize. If you said $20,000, you're right. So the truck hadn't changed. It's $20,000 over here. It's $20,000 over here. But guess what? Because they used their own money, because they leveraged their own assets, that money grew $66,000. So the total assets over here on the right side is now $86,000. Now, that may be complicated to understand, but basically, when you've got $227,000 and it continues to work in your favor, and that's not 227 minus 50,000. It's not, that doesn't turn into, what would that be? $172,000. That's not what it turns into. It's still 227,000. So that 227,000 is working a whole lot harder. It's a bigger number that's earning in your favor versus the small 51,000 that you lended yourself. So that is what you need to look at with contributions, because the bottom line is the traditional financial industry focuses on increasing your net worth and building your net worth, but focused mainly on increasing your assets. But what does net worth mean? What is the definition of net worth? Assets minus liabilities. So if we can show you how to proactively decrease your liabilities, and also we're increasing your assets, this just compounds your ability to create wealth. Guys, I hope you learned something today. Hopefully that you shifted your mind on how you look at money. It is not a source just to build up and build up and build up. It's not meant for just accumulation. It's meant for multiplication. It's meant to be a tool that is used and not to just be viewed. And that's what we do. We actually will look at where you are right now. And we look at your situation. We meet you where you are, and let's see if we can change the trajectory in how you build wealth, how fast you build wealth. And a lot of times, I have seen 5 times up to 10 times, 10xing folks' wealth just because they're implementing strategies that they've never heard of. And they're taking a proactive approach on minimizing liabilities by utilizing options they've never heard of. Guys, hope you learned something today. Be sure to reach out to us, pass this on, subscribe to our channel, whatever platform you're watching this on, pass this on to somebody that can hear about it and learn about what we got going on and how we can turn their debt into wealth, and show them exactly the way that they can do that by taking control of their finances. That's going to give you clarity in your finances. And ultimately, the goal is to have confidence in your finances to where you can live life right now. We love you. Thank you. God bless you. See ya.